Hey, and welcome to Pittman's Pumpkin Patch, Pittman's Garden Patch. It's your teacher, Mr. Pittman. I'm shooting this video for you guys in my class to watch and to maybe post some comments, ask questions. I thought just for a break from all of the hard work you guys are doing, I thought we might take a tour of my garden and see what's happening during springtime out here, and kind of give you an educational video on what's on things. So right here you can see my different plants I'm growing: tomatoes and bell peppers, and over there I have some oregano plants over there. So these are my starts that I started in with seeds down in my basement, about a month ago or so. I've pruned back the tips to encourage side growth so that I get more fruit production. Okay, so these are continuing to grow and they're soaking up the sunshine. So you'll see these maybe later on in another video down the road. Down in this black pot right here, all you see is a bunch of soil, but underneath there are some ginger roots that I'm starting, and as soon as it gets warm enough, these will pop up and start to produce fresh ginger. This is the first time I've ever tried this, and so I'm looking forward to it. Oh, by the way, ginger is good for your stomach when you have a stomach bug. That's why people like to drink ginger ale. Well, here are my two orange trees. Now you'll see one looks like it took a pounding, and it did. It's leafless. Well, that's because it got hit by the cold and it dropped its leaves, but it's still alive, and it took a setback, but it'll come back. And this other tree can handle a little bit more cold temperature, and new growth should be coming out soon, as it already actually is. I can see a little bit of it. So I'll be transplanting these two trees in the ground to help their growth. Now what I'm going to do, sorry for the bumpiness, I'm going to take you around as we're heading towards the garden, but I'll get to that in a little bit. I actually want to take you out to the backyard for a little bit, and show you what's growing on out here in springtime, because it's like the world is waking up again, and it's really a fun thing to see, and it's just neat. So first thing I wanted to do is take you to this fig tree right here, and though it is not broken bud yet, the thing about this is I took this, got this tree from actually my dad's. I took some cuttings, and it looked just basically like maybe a foot-long stick. And about a year and a half ago, I put the sticks in a 1-gallon pot, and I got them to grow roots. A very simple process. Just keep the soil moist, and they'll do their own thing. And so lo and behold, shortly, this tree is now taller than I am. I'd say it's about close to 5'11", maybe, almost 6 feet. And let me see if I can get some good, you got the tips right here that are, you can see right here, that are a little sharp and pointy, a little bit milky green. Those are going to be shooting out new growth. So I'm looking forward to having some fresh figs if I can keep the birds off of them. But yeah, I started out from my dad's tree, so it was free to me. Now coming over here, this is my only grape plant. This is a Concord grape plant. And you can see already, right here, you can see all the new growth already starting to come alive. Okay, all along here, and all these little tips that you see, so it's starting to wake up. and it's going to be sending out new leaves and new flowers and new growth. Now, I've already had to prune these back, and that's something that you need to do when you're growing plants and things like that. You need to prune them back. You can see right up here. See these beautiful flowers getting ready to start coming out, and the leaf structure and everything. So what'll end up happening is this grows out. This is going to bend over to the right and grow along, and I have this trellis all set up here, these wires and everything, for me to wrap around the branching of the grape plants. And so that's what's going on with that. But the flowers and new growth as spring is coming is really great. I love it. And let's see. Over here are my two new additions, raspberry plants that I put in last year. I did get some raspberries a little bit last year. They were delicious. And these things, how they grow, see this stuff right here? This is new growth. So the mother plant's over there. But this is a new growth there. New growth there. Pretty much everywhere you see a lot of this green stuff popping up, that's new growth. Because a raspberry plant grows underground. It shoots out little runners, or fingers, if you like to think of them that way, underground, and then they pop up. And then they start to grow up. So you get more plants over time with these things. Now, all this growth that you see here, this is new growth. As it's spring is upon us, and this stuff is coming out. You can see the new growth showing up right there. And it's just a really cool thing to see. See there? I pruned back my plants. And here's another raspberry plant. Again, doing the same thing. This one's a little bit more vigorous. As you can see, more and more plants are shooting up all over the place from the mother plant right over there. So this one's a little bit further behind, I guess, in terms of coming out of dormancy. But it is, nonetheless. You can see a little bit of growth coming out. And these plants, it's just not as much as the other one right now, but that's okay. All right. Oop, stepped in the hole there. Now I'll head you over to my blueberry patch. Okay. And I have about 7 or 8 bushes. I got to be careful because there's going to be bees and honeybees and bumblebees out here as they are coming out looking for food. All right, but you can see all these flowers all over there, and these all have the potential of becoming blueberries, either by the wind pollinating them, or bees, or other insects that fly even at nighttime and get inside. More blueberries. Though this one's not going to do a whole lot of producing this year, but it will next year. It's going to do a lot of leaf growth this year. This one right here, so that's blueberry bush number 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And so I've already seen honeybees out yesterday flying around in here and doing their thing. Usually I get bumblebees that come out to the blueberry bushes. And how these flowers are very unique on a blueberry. They're small, very narrow, and they hang down, sort of like an upside down teacup. And so it sometimes can be a little challenging for bees to get up inside of there to get some of the nectar. But what bumblebees do is they sit there and they vibrate their body. Once they land on the flower, they vibrate their body, and that shakes the pollen loose. Okay, so that's something cool and interesting that they do to get their food. Okay, so this, what you see here, is just a PVC frame that I built and hammered into the ground, and I draped nets over top of this to keep birds out. So the net's not on right now, but I will be putting on a new net that has smaller holes to keep more of the birds out. Okay, and blueberries are delicious, really good. All right, now the apple trees that I have on here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 apple trees. This is a golden delicious, and they're in dormancy right now, except for 2 of them. 2 of them are coming out of dormancy. The other ones are a little bit, going to be a little bit later. So that's a golden delicious. This scary looking apple tree. Oh boy, this is my Jonathan. I may get rid of that in a year or 2 and put it something that like a little bit better. This is my Honeycrisp apple tree. An interesting thing about this Honeycrisp is that the pollen on there is sterile on this Honeycrisp trees. And what that really means is that it's not a self-pollinating apple tree like all the other ones usually are. So it has to have pollen from other apple trees in order to get apples production on here. And as you can see, it's still in dormancy right now. It's about a week or 2 behind the other trees that are already blooming. Now, one thing I want you guys to see and notice is right here where my thumb is. See this little innocent looking little twig right here? That's actually what's called fruiting spurs. And the fruiting spurs is where the flowers come from. And they're usually short and stubby looking. That's how you can tell the difference between a fruiting spur and a leaf spur. So say for example, you look at this one right here that my thumb is on. It's kind of long and lanky and skinny looking. Well, this is going to be a branch. This is another branch that's heading out that direction. And yes, fruiting spurs will come off of it in time. Okay, so move you to another apple tree. Now this apple tree is already coming out of dormancy. This is my Granny Smith apple tree, which you guys are familiar with. Granny Smith apples. You can see the beginnings of it coming out. Now it looks like a little Q-tip head right here. That's very fuzzy and soft. Tactile learners would love this kind of stuff, right? So this stuff is coming out of dormancy, and you can see all these little white, looks like cotton, like I said, Q-tip heads all over this tree. And those are the beginnings of it breaking out, coming out of dormancy. And I've already looked at some of these, and I can see which ones are going to be fruits and which ones are going to be leaves, because they have a little, the ones that are fruiting will have a little bit of pinkish red coloring in the tip. And that's where the flowers are going to be at. Those are the flowers, because they're pinkish white in color. Okay, now going over here, this is my, not Gala, but Fuji. This is my Fuji apple tree. Now, this is just beginning to come out of dormancy just a little bit. The Granny Smith is first. You'll see, excuse me, allergy season. And all this goes all the way up there, and I keep these things pruned down, and I try not to let it get too tall. So I've already come and pruned the tips of these off so that they'll stop growing taller and grow more out and away from the center of the tree, so that it's more manageable for me to harvest and gather fruits and not have to climb a ladder and take the chance of falling and getting hurt, right? So even though these are standard trees, standard size trees, you can prune them to be whatever you want them to be. As you can see, a fruiting spur right here, a branching spur right there with fruiting spurs coming off of it. Now, not everything is going to bloom this year, off of here, but that's the way it goes, right? All right, moving on over here to my new additions, my peach trees. Now, this is an Alberta peach tree, and you can see these gorgeous, like magenta colored flowers on here. And these things are just beautiful. I picked this little baby up from Home Depot the other day, which I normally don't do. I normally go to a nursery, but this one was actually pruned pretty good compared to the other trees that they have there. And you know, I paid about maybe $40 for this. It's a little short thing, but it's already got fruit going on it, crazy like. And so I've seen a little bit of honeybees going around in here, but I haven't seen a whole lot of action. Let me see if I can get a close-up of one of the flowers. Take you in so that you can see what it kind of looks like. These are just beautiful. And you can see the growth tips coming out. More beautiful flowers. Okay, moving on, this is a Finger Lake peach tree. Again, I think I hear something buzzing around. I have a phobia of bees, by the way. Look at that, just gorgeous, right? They smell nice and fragrant, and just doing really good. This peach tree goes up not yay tall. It's been in here for about a year now. Now this one is a white peach tree. This is a Georgia peach tree, and this is, of course, is older. I got this from a local nursery, London Bridge Nursery. And this one is, of course, loaded with a lot of peach blossoms. Now, I didn't really get any peaches last year that stayed on. Stuff happened to it, I guess, and I'm learning what I can do to try to... Oh, I see a bee. I see him. That might be a bumblebee. Let's see if I can... Well, if I hold the camera still, I think he'll... Yep, there he goes. He's flying around. That might be a honeybee, but I could be wrong. It's hard to tell. But this one's loaded with a lot more flowers, thus getting more activity. And I can smell some of the flowers. So I'm hoping they'll pass the word around and get more pollinators out here while these flowers are open. Now, one thing that you can do if you have a lack of pollinators in your area, you can actually get a toothbrush, electric toothbrush, take off the bristle part that exposes the metal rod that's underneath there that does all the actual vibrating. And you could take that and go behind the flower heads and turn it on, of course, and vibrate the flower heads, thus simulating the vibration that a bumblebee would use to shake the pollen loose. And that will help you set fruit on your trees and on your peppers and tomato plants and all kinds of fruiting plants. So that's just a tip to pass along that I've learned and I've used. And I still have my electric toothbrush, an old one, in the basement ready to be used should I need it. Now, before I take you, it's kind of a wider view of the garden here. Now this is just a 25 foot by 25 foot plot that I've had out here for about 2.5, 3 years or so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand my garden another 25 feet by 25 feet. So there goes all the way to the end of my property line, all the way back over there to the backyard and all that stuff like that, and out here towards the front. Okay, so right here where I'm standing. This is landscape fabric that I put out here. I pulled it off that bed over there and just put it out here and used the staples to put it in the ground. And this will start killing off the grass in this area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with a sod cutter, hopefully this coming up weekend, and I'm going to take out this whole section of grass and everything, and maybe like 3 or 4 inches down, and clear this area out to expand the garden for further production. This is where I'm going to be putting my pumpkins and gourds and stuff in here, and so this is definitely a project that's going to require some work. And then I'll have some compost be brought in and have it dumped in here, and then I'll have to spread it around, shape my beds. A lot of work to do. And these white PVC frames that you see out here on this bed here is where I would drape netting, insect netting across to protect certain plants from insects, harmful bugs that's going to do damage, instead of having to spray things. Okay, so as far as the garden goes, you can probably see where I have string tied down there, going down the entire road to mark off my beds, so that I can walk in here and know where my beds are. So what you see going in here is garlic down through here, and I got some, it may be hard to see, but I got a little bit of purple onions or red onions in this little section here. I've never grown red onions, but I figured I'd give it a shot. Over in this bed right here, this entire bed is about 4 rows of onions that I just put in last couple days. And that little small section over there where the tarp is, but part of it's been pulled back, that is some more onion starch. So I'm doing a lot of onions. Okay, and then this row is a lot of onions and some garlic. Now, one way you can tell, sorry for that, the garlic from the onion is down here. The garlic has leaves that are more like what you would find on palms if you go to Palm Sunday service. It has they're flat blades, and so onions, though, these are cylinder shaped. These are tubular shaped. These are hollow on the inside. They're not flat. Okay, they're like a big fat straw. Okay. So that's how you can tell onions from the garlic, even though they're in the same family. All right. And that's a goji berry plant there. And this mangled mess is my strawberry patch. Don't know what I'm going to do with it. Don't know if I'm going to see what happens or take it out or whatever. But it's also has spread, of course, over into my next bed. And I got some work to do in here. But I don't know if you can see that blue tag down there. And there's a yellow one about 4 feet further past that. That's where I am starting blackberry plants again. And I have this trellis system here that I made years ago using my son Luke's, one of his children books. It was a perfect 7 inches by 7 inches. And so I used that to create that trellis by hand. And so what I think I'm going to do with the rest of that bed right there, that's under the tarp, and I have that little bit of onions there, I think I'm going to plant out some carrots, and then eventually when this onions and stuff comes up, or maybe I might have to take out the strawberries, I don't know, I'm going to start putting out my pepper and tomato plants. Looks like I'm going to run out of room here. So I'm going to have to get creative. And maybe this new section over here Down there was going to be where I'll put my tomato and pepper plants for now. And then as it gets time for me to get the pumpkins and gourds in, they're just going to have to share some space. Or maybe by then, this area will be pulled up from the garlic and onions, and then I'll be able to plant in here. I'm also wanting to do some potatoes. I've never grown potatoes before, but with all the things going around, it might be nice to have more food growing on. Okay, well, I can't think of any other things to really go about. I have some more things going on in the basement as far as growing some yellow bell peppers that I'm working on, and some more tomato plants and stuff like that. So I have quite a bit. And what would Pittman's pumpkin patch be without my last remaining pumpkin from last year that has survived this whole winter? And you can hear, nice and solid. It's starting to take a little bit of a beating with some of the holes and stuff I see in and around on it, but she's good, still going strong. All right, so from Pittman's Pumpkin Patch, Pittman's Garden Patch. Kids, if you have any questions or comments, post them down in the comment section. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. All right, hey, be strong out there, guys. Remember, we got this. We can do it. All right, see y'all later now. Love y'all. Bye.